Welcome to the Voice of Retail. I'm Michael LeBlanc, your host. The Voice of Retail is produced in conjunction with Retail Council of Canada, and it's presented by Hale, a performance marketing partner trusted by brands like ASICS, Sage, and Orange Theory to scale with focus and impact.
So, and welcome back to the Voice of Retail podcast. How are you doing?
Michael, it's a thrill to be back with you again and your wonderful listeners. Happy to be here.
Well, it is almost literally 2 years to the day since you were last on the pod, and you had just arrived, freshly minted, open eyes. You were traveling Canada at the time, so it's such a great opportunity to chat with you 2 years later.
Yeah.
You've anchored the business, and you've really become part of the retail community. You're now on the board of Retail Council of Canada, so you're really opening the aperture. We were just talking off mic. You're learning all about different industries and their machinations and how it all comes together. So once again, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having
on the mic. Now, in case someone didn't hear that episode or doesn't know much about you, who are you and what do you do for a living and how did you get to be you?
So hello, Canada. This is Selwyn Crittendon, Chief Sustainability Officer and CEO for IKEA Canada. Been 23 years with IKEA and started off in the U.S. market in the Washington, D.C. store as a customer convenience manager. So I was working with all my wonderful customers in the back end of the store. Had an opportunity to relocate to Orlando, Florida as the assistant store manager of services, sales manager, operations manager, deputy store manager, and then had an opportunity to take my own store in Miami, Florida. So I had my first opportunity to build a brand new store, South Florida. Great time, great expansion for the U.S. market. Loved it to death. One of my favorite jobs of being in a area new to customers, understanding life at home, and then tailoring our experience to that customer base. And I've used that now in the role that I got to before I came here to Canada was business development and transformation. So I got a lot of opportunity to really talk about how do we grow IKEA, how do we expand IKEA. And there was an opportunity in Canada came up, and I said, I would love to
Put your hand up.
I put my hand up, and I said, I'd love to come here. And I will tell you, my friends, it's been 2 wonderful years. So last time we met, I made a promise to visit every unit from coast to coast.
Yeah.
Check mark, we did that. every unit that we've opened, I've been there. Wonderful coworkers, 7,000 plus coworkers across the country that I've seen and understood, listened. And that's probably been the biggest learning over the 2 years. A lot of listening, a lot of learning, especially for my coworkers, but then also what's been happening around us in our retail environment.
Yeah.
So whether it's the instability in the economy, what I like to refer to as the affordability crisis.
Sure.
We talk about trade and tariffs, a lot of learning that has happened, and how do we have to adjust our business? And then for me, my responsibility as the CEO for IKEA Canada is to really make sure that we hold true to our vision to create a better everyday life for the many people. And to do that, we need to make sure that home furnishings and furniture is more affordable. So for the last 2 years, we've really been after this affordability.
You really have. I mean, you've been making big moves in all kinds of different ways. I remember the last time I had someone from IKEA on, we were talking about the HST, the SHT program.
Yes.
But you really found a mark with, we are going to be the retailer that really puts our foot forward in terms of affordability, right?
Absolutely, because we are for the many. I'm not for the few. I'm not for just a certain demographic.
Yeah.
We're for the many.
Yeah.
And this past year, we invested over another $50 million in lowering prices on 550 articles,
right,
on top of the $80 million we did the year before. So we can ensure that people have an affordable way to live.
Yeah.
But more importantly, we also combine it with sustainability. So with affordability, sustainability, we believe that's our new superpower, and we want many more Canadians to feel that they can live more sustainable at home and not pay more.
That's got to be a bunch of questions for you. The idea of making it more affordable has got to be harder every day in the rewiring of a global infrastructure, right? I mean, you really, if it was hard before, it's kind of even more disruptively hard today. So kudos for the great work you do. And we're going to talk about you. I'm here in the store. We're doing this interview live together. It's super fun. We're sitting in the kitchen, just talking over the kitchen table or the dining room table here. So it's super fun. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in the Washington, D.C. market, so Northern Virginia. I was born and raised. My parents were in the Air Force, so the military family. I didn't have to actually travel, so by the time I was born, my dad was actually moving out of the service. My mom had retired, so they both got jobs in the Department of Defense. So we're a big military family, but mainly a government, Northern Virginia, or like we call the DMV, so District, Maryland, and Virginia family.
So grew up on the Beltway. So talk about why you found yourself in retail. Was sometimes been described as accidental career, right? Did you trip into it, or were you drawn to it?
I had so many opportunities growing up that there was no pressure at home to get a job. My parents were always about do what you have a passion for, do what you love, because they can explain how they grew up and why they did what they did, why did they serve. And I really felt a calling of working with people and understanding consumers' needs and working with coworkers. And I gravitated to retail from a very young age. So I work with other brands and franchises, but the one place that I grew up with as a young kid in the ball pit was IKEA. And I always said if there was one place I would love to work, because I understood the concept, I loved the way they really showed solutions. And as a young kid, it was kind of cool. You can go through room sets and jump on the sofas and the beds, and it was okay to do that. So I said if there was one company I had to work with was IKEA, and I was pretty fortunate. I left one company as we were shutting down business, and I stepped into IKEA, and I've never looked back.
Never looked back. Let's talk about IKEA Canada for a bit. So 7,000 associates, you have duty care for 7,000 people.
Yes.
How many? Catch us up. How many stores in Canada? And I guess we should talk global a little bit. Interesting things happening in the States. I just saw, moving into Soho, taking the big version of a blue box into Soho in the old Nike space. So interesting things happening in the U.S. But talk about Canada.
Canada first. So we have 16 stores, 3 customer distribution centers, 1 distribution center. We have 1 what we call remote customer meeting point, or our CSC, customer support center. And then we have 10 plan and order points. 2 we just opened this year in the Quebec market. So Vaudreuil and Sherbrooke. Many more to come. So shout out to Abbotsford. We're coming to you soon this year.
And expand a bit on the function of those versus a
It's a
retail
great question.
store.
So everyone is familiar with our regular retail boxes. So here you get all areas of the home under one roof. You can pick up your goods, you get all the services. For our plan and order points, they're really designed specifically in areas of the home where you need a little bit more assistance. So kitchens, bedrooms, wardrobes, bath, where you need a little bit more assistance, where we can sit down with you one-on-one and really plan out these areas and then have those goods shipped directly to you. And in certain cases, we're opening now these plan and order points where you can actually collect your goods there as well, too. So we're really starting to listen to our customers. So we're trying to be more transparent in what each role model of each unit that we have, what's their purpose, and then really connecting the services that they really want. So it's been an exciting time here in Canada.
Because there's really a finite capacity for big blue boxes, if I can call them big blue, like the one we're here in Etobicoke. There's really, you can't put those in every town. You need a certain critical mass in your trading area. So these, and I've seen them around the world where IKEA is trying to be very innovative in how they approach what IKEA is in different communities. But still, I mean, let's talk about 2025 as kind of a gateway into what you set as priorities. Obviously, you're on the journey reducing price and making the product more affordable. But behind the scenes of all that, what are your priorities from a business strategy perspective that make that or enable that to happen?
I love it. And I think FY25, or what we call our fiscal year 25, which just ended in August, was a year we were all focused on sleep. So the most important thing that we were focused on last year was really about giving people an opportunity to have a better everyday life, but sleeping better, and all the components that go along with sleep. So the 6 sleep essentials, you've had different textiles that you can work with, really educating people on what's the benefits of having the right mattress with the right pillows. But here, that was one part of a commercial plan. There's always been a big piece of my plan that's always been around people. And it's both the coworker, so really upscaling and reskilling our coworkers, more competence development, introducing new tools, AI, some areas of AI for some people could be scary, but for me, how do we embrace it? How do we give our coworkers more tools to be ready, and we can really personalize the service for our customers? And then from a customer perspective, last year was really learning more about their life at home. And we learned so much about sleep. And I hope many of my viewers here have heard about the sleep stories, sleep talks. So what happens when you go to sleep? We recorded you, and we heard how having a great night's sleep. And we introduced new things. I think many people are familiar with the IKEA brand, but sometimes you get a little shocked that that's actually IKEA. So we ran an ad last year about actually IKEA, that you can have wonderful things and looks great at an affordable price.
Kind of understanding the elasticity of the brand, right? Where you can take it. And
absolutely.
Question about the mechanics behind a campaign like sleep. Is that a global? I know you're I don't want to call you a federation, but you're part of a franchise group. which is a little known fact. I didn't know it until a couple of years ago when I interviewed the chairman. I'm like, you're what?
Yes.
But, when you go to, what's your role in choosing that strategy, the sleep strategy? Is that here's a pick and choose for your market? Did you come up with that with the team? How does that work?
It's a great question. I think IKEA in general, so between IKEA Intergroup and the Inca Group that we sit a part of a franchise, the largest part of the IKEA group, we all decide on basically what is going to be the focus for that year. So last year was around the complete sleep. This year will be about complete cooking and eating. So it's kind of actually ceremonial that we're at the dining room table here in the kitchen, and that's the focus this year.
Right.
So my responsibility as a country manager or a CEO is to really embrace what does that mean to the local community.
Right.
So we can take the topic of sleep or complete cooking and eating, but how do you tailor that to your market? So here we talk about what is the North American sleep model. Do our mattresses have the same comfort from a North American perspective than the Asian market?
Sure.
So you really need to tailor the insights and what you learn from our consumers. We have a survey that we do, the Life at Home survey that we've done every year. And this year we can be more specific on Canadian needs. And then we can give that back to the product design. What do we need specifically for our market? And that's worked so well. So that's where you get the differences. So we may have a common theme, but you really tailor the solutions, the product assortment to really what's your customer base.
And particularly around the product, right? You need to hit a certain amount of scale, which I think Canada does, to say, listen, I need a bed that's wider, shorter, taller, pillows that are fluffier, less fluffy. The Quebec folks want a different pillow than the Alberta folks, whatever that may be. Let's talk about customer behavior for a little bit. So, customers today are, I kind of stop asking retail leaders about the difference between their e-commerce and their stores, because I feel it's like asking the wrong question. Yeah. It's almost like it's a difference without a distinction more and more, because the customers don't see it the way we see channels. Now you got your operating metrics, but whatever. What are you seeing and what are you hearing from customers in terms of the way they shop now?
It's a very important thing. So what I will tell you is last year we saw huge growth, no matter what channel, which is a really positive sign for IKEA. Our brand trust is up year over year, but more importantly, visitation. So we saw almost 200 million visitors online and almost 33 million in store. But what we look at is total visitation, because what we see is you may start in the store, you might get inspired by the solutions, but you might buy in the app. Or vice versa. Right. You might start online, inspired by an ad that we put out there, but you come and make your final decision in the store. So what we talk about, this omni-channel ecosystem, is what we've really built. And what we've done from an investment, from a, let's say, fulfillment transformation perspective over the last years, over $400 million invested here in the greater Toronto area and in the Vancouver, BC market, to really make sure that when a customer selects and buys with us, they have a seamless experience, no matter the channel.
And that was not always the case. I've shopped from IKEA as many as pre-COVID. If we kind of take pre-COVID, that was not always the case. I would not have said IKEA was a leader. You had a catalog, but you weren't exactly a leader in the e-commerce or the direct-to-customer space. But you've definitely made that more of a priority.
I think the COVID period, the pandemic period, gave us a lot of learning and actually accelerated us in this journey.
And forcing function,
and
so
I
to
think
speak.
Here, that's where you see the click services come into pact. Now we have 1,000 FedEx parcel pickup points across the country. We have pickup locations. Here, we're now talking about accessibility. But I like to focus more like IKEA Canada is built on a very large network. And in this network, we have nodes. And those nodes could be a customer distribution center. It can be a pickup point. It could be a physical retail store. It all plays together now.
It's presence. It's presence in the
omni-channel transformation is all about.
Sometimes I refer to site traffic numbers as vanity metrics. I mean, they don't, what really matters is sales, no matter how you get it. So talk about how you measure that at the customer level. Like, do you see many retailers tell me that their stores become customer acquisition vehicles as much as sales per square foot productivity vehicles? Wow. Do you see the same experience?
We look at this in many different ways. So I'll start from the biggest ground up number. Last year we came in at $2.8 billion.
Wow.
Over the last year. It's a 2.5% decrease from the year, but we saw visitation increase. So,
but you're also taking pricing down, right? So,
absolutely.
I mean, I guess there's comp store sales, but then there's also unit sales, right?
So we'll look at this as you talked a lot about sales per square foot. So when we talk about physical retail space, we absolutely look at how do we maximize the spaces that we own.
Sure.
And then from an omni perspective, you're really looking at how many times are you converting that customer. So when they visit you, do you convert them? So we look at this in many different ways. But at the end of the day, I think one of the main things that you can really bank on is we'll talk about visitation. We'll talk about conversion.
Sure.
We'll talk about customers.
You need your operating metrics.
But you also need to talk about brand trust. You need to say, are you taking market share? Where are the areas where IKEA is being a market leader? And I can definitely say this year for cooking and eating, we are the market leaders for cooking and eating. Wonderful kitchens with a 25-year warranty. This is our time to really showcase what you can do around the dining room table.
Right.
How can we be more relevant and more accessible for many more Canadians this year? That's why this year is so important. And I think what brings us all together as a community has always been food. And that's probably another bright spot from last year. Last year was $143 million in food sales. It was a growth of 4% year over year over year. The food category is growing. That also translates to 70 million meatballs, my friends, 7 million plant balls, 3 million hot dogs. The food business is growing, and as I can share with you, tomorrow we launch our new Round Ball initiative. We're going to celebrate the meatball in many different fashions. So if you haven't visited your local IKEA store, tomorrow is the day. Start in the restaurant, taste the new exciting food, and my favorite is the nacho, our new plant-based nacho dish. Come and try it.
So let's explore that for a little bit, because for many, many years, the restaurant component, the food component, was more, it wasn't even ancillary. I mean, it was a little bit of a traffic driver. It was something fun. It was almost a quirky component of being IKEA. But it sounds like you're turning your minds to, we're going to get into this business.
Absolutely.
And we're going to actually make it as both a revenue share, a traffic driver, and create a destination. Do you envision people coming to the store and having some of those amazing nachos and maybe leaving, and you're okay with that? I mean, you'd rather they fill their basket, but how do you guys think about that?
I think Ingvar was very smart. Our founder was very smart to make sure that when we had wonderful home furnishings and furniture, that we also give them an opportunity to stop, take a break, get something to eat or nibble on or have something to drink. And today, our food service, we don't just sell the sofa, we sell the meatballs to sell the sofa. And vice versa. The sofa helps us sell the meatball. It's an integrated piece of our business. So food is great. Food is an opportunity where we can showcase our leadership in now more healthy, sustainable food now. We can introduce more plant-based dishes. And what I can tell you is now is the time for us to really gather together where IKEA can be this affordable leader in the food journey. A family of 4 can have a very good, healthy, sustainable meal for less than $30. That's unbelievable in this day and age. So for me, it's not a why not go to IKEA for dinner or just shop them for food. It's about bringing the total experience for them, where they can come in, have a great meal, and actually go down to the Swedish food market and take those products home and enjoy a meal another day.
Would you ever hook up with the Skip the Dishes, the Uber Eats? Would you ever do door-to-door on that?
I think everything is on the table, and I think that leads me to a point where we talk about partnerships. And I want to make this point because I think it's super crucial that everyone hears this. The success for IKEA is not just myself or the executive management team. It's the 7,000 coworkers, but more importantly, the partners in our business. Whether it's the success from our EV initiatives with Go Bolt, RXO, and Purelator, really, almost 72% of our deliveries in August were made by energy-efficient vehicle.
Wow.
So I would tell you that all partnerships are on the table, and it's been our partners that have helped us grow. In the sustainability space, we talk about Furniture Bank, we talk about Rainbow Railroad, Humanity. There's so many partners that we have in the business, from financial with RBC. We've done great things from our loan program, the Pay in 4. So these are things where I think partnerships is a crucial area that retail has to evolve on. And that's one thing that I'll continue to champion, that we need partners in the business. IKEA alone cannot do it by itself, that we need these partners. So
as big as you are. I mean, it's an interesting thread, because I tend to think of things like payment plans as table stakes versus differentiators. And when I was at the Shopping Channel many years ago, it was a differentiator. You could, no interest, no fee, get payments spread out. Now the buy now, pay later has become pretty much table stakes. So what impressed me about IKEA is you're anchored in tradition of the brand, but you're still driving forward on accepting and then creating innovation.
Absolutely.
So let's bridge that over to sustainability. So you and your colleagues,
Yeah.
country leaders, have that dual title, which
Yes.
is so interesting, which of course sets a tone for everyone in the organization and outwards looking in. How are you viewing the sustainability environment today? Clearly Canadians care about it. They
Yes.
also clearly sometimes shop, notwithstanding sustainability. Affordability sometimes is going to trump
Yes.
sustainability. But so how do you figure those two things out? You talked about delivery and EV, but how do they come together to build, I'll call it sustainable competitive advantage? And do you still see it that way?
I absolutely do. And I think this is a credit to our values and our culture. It's built into our DNA. When we design our products, we use that democratic design process where it talks about form, function, sustainability, quality, and low price. They all come together to make a product. So here it goes back to the very, very beginning of every product design that we do. So I very much see this as our responsibility. We're producing goods. We're using renewable sources of materials. We're helping you choose and select products based on your needs. And then at the end of the life cycle of that product, we now want you to bring it back to IKEA, where our buyback program has seen a 36% increase year over year with consumers bringing their IKEA well-loved goods back and helping people find a new affordable way to enjoy our products.
And it's
Absolutely.
it's a traffic driver too, right?
Absolutely.
You know, I love that circularity. It's literally circularity. I mean,
Yes.
a lot of people talk about circularity, but you just bring that product back. It's a wonderful thing. So from your perspective, it's still a major platform or major plank in the business strategy. And you and your colleagues around the world intend to continue to pursue that.
We do good business by being a good business. And this is one of these areas where if we can prolong the life of a product, if we can recycle or we can introduce spare parts, it's all a bigger circle that we play in. And this is where we link affordability and sustainability together. So you mentioned that earlier in your question. For us, this is the new superpower for retail. We believe this, that it shouldn't cost you more to be more sustainable. So for me, my mission is to make sure that customers and our consumers understand that when you shop with IKEA, you have the right to be affordable and sustainable at the same time. And then find new ways of saving money, whether it be our water saving taps or different ways we can use food saving. So this year about cooking with all about complete cooking and eating. Now we're going to talk about food waste and the millions of dollars we throw away every year in food waste. Now we're going to help teach you how to store your food well, what container you should use, how should you cook your food, portion. So really, this is an opportunity to educate people, but also help them save money. And for me, that's the biggest payback. That's why I love retail. That's why I do what I do, because I can affect other people's lives, and they don't even know it, and you can enjoy it and have fun.
It's clearly an animating principle or an animating strategy of you both personally and professionally.
Yes.
We'll be right back after these messages. The Voice of Retail is brought to you by Hale, the partner behind some of the fastest growing DTC and retail brands in North America. Hale is recognized for senior teams who cut out the noise and keep their focus on what matters most, growth. Their approach is based on outcomes, not hours. They are selective with who they partner with, bringing speed, accountability, and a clear strategy to every engagement. Paid media, content, performance, all of it connects directly to real results. That's why brands like ASICS, Sage, and Orange Theory choose Hale to help them scale. Learn more at wearehale.com.
Let's talk about retail technology for a few minutes.
Sure.
So we've been talking for just over 20 minutes. We haven't said AI yet, some kind of record. But I'm interested in two elements. One is, and it's very common for retailers of all sizes to be using AI for efficiency or intersecting with all kinds of different things, machine vision or optimizing supply chain. I'm a little more interested and intrigued these days on how you're thinking about how consumers are using AI, because Leger tells us like 57% of Canadians are using AI. I would argue it's 100% because Google now serving up AI results up top. So, but I think and we're seeing numbers coming out like 20% of organic traffic coming from ChatGPT. That was zero.
Just a few years ago, right?
6 months ago.
Exactly.
6 months ago was practically zero, right? So I worry that now we have a new intermediary between us and the customer. But at the same time, I imagine you and the marketing team are thinking about, okay, the new player in town, how do I develop authority with them? And how are they talking to my customers around me? And what's our role? And how are you guys thinking about that?
I think Data is always going to be the key to this discussion. And I think being a responsible, purpose-led brand is to not misuse the data that's given to us and the data that we own. So from an AI perspective, we can use new tools to really maximize the data that we do have and really make sure that the shopping experience is tailored to that customer. Be more personable. Make sure that we show up in the right channels when they expect us, when they need us. So we can actually responsibly use data in a way that we can actually enhance the process, make it a more seamless experience, and really tailor our assortment to them. And then from a coworker perspective, that's a lot of the competence development that we've talked about this year. So how do we make sure that we are where the customer needs us with the right tools, with the right way of, analyzing data in a quick way, where we can evolve from our Excel spreadsheets into really using Power BI and using data to really make sure that we can tailor the assortments here in the Etobicoke store for this customer base. And then when we open the next store in Aberystwyth in British Columbia, that it really resembles what the market is looking for. So I think at the heart of that question really comes with the responsible use of data and then using the tools for what they are. AI can support us. We're really talking a lot about how do we make sure that we use the right prompting. So when you're using, like many of our coworkers, Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, how do you make sure you prompt the right questions to get the right outcomes? But it's still your responsibility to verify the data. It shouldn't be a one and done. So it should be a companion tool.
Well, AI, if the data is bad, the AI is going to get you the wrong answer faster. That's all it's going to do.
So it's our responsibility to make sure that we use data the proper way.
So I have an idea, theory I'm working on about AI and consumers, and I want to bounce it off you. Okay. So if you're like me, you're seeing these artificially created videos that sometimes, and we can both imagine a day where it's very quickly hard to tell reality from fake videos, right? I think retailers have a unique value proposition to offer because it may be a fake video, but when you're here, when you're walking this store, when you have a trusted retailer, it feels like there's an advantage there to retailers, depending on how you think about it. Get people off 5 years ago, you and I might have been talking about virtual reality, and AR and VR. But now I think there might be a pushback. This is my theory. I want to bounce it off you, that people are going to get like, I don't know what to believe anymore on the platforms. I can't trust my eyes anymore, but I can trust the people at the retail store. Does this resonate with you at all?
It does, and it goes back to the last question. I think, again, using data responsibly and the responsibility of when we use AI to generate, whether it be ads or a video, it's how we use it responsibly. Yeah. So I think at the heart of what we would do is we still use the data of what we've learned from our customers, that life at home survey, the data that we collect, the information that we collect here in the store. That would always give input into making a factual statement about where we want to go or how we want to support our customers. So I think from a brand or retail perspective, it's really about the smart use of data and how do you use it in a responsible way. I understand that some people are a little nervous. They're, if we get to election seasons and are you really watching a true campaign ad or was something made up? But that's where I think it also leans back on the human side that we also need to fact check what we see and what we watch and then align with brands that you trust. And I would say for IKEA Canada, that's what we want to do. We want to make a lifetime relationship with you. So if you trust us, we have over 6 million IKEA family members now in our database, and they are enjoying. And now what we can do is we can use that data and to create better experiences for our customers. So if you haven't signed up for IKEA Family, do it now, because here we'll use data responsibly, but we also want to make sure that we tailor the experience to you. So this is where we see this point. I can't speak on everyone else, but I really feel strong about responsible data use.
Well, I don't think there's any other position to take, right? I think there'd be this, everyone is going to get good at your scale of a retailer at using AI to prove efficiencies of the business. Exactly. So very quickly, I feel like that's not going to be a competitive advantage.
No.
Very quickly. Quicker than we'd even imagine.
Yeah.
But I think the thing you're talking about is that sustainable advantage based on that foundation of trust that you've built.
Yes.
Last question for you. So you've traversed Canada from coast to coast for the past 2 years. You knew Canada a little bit when you came here. Did anything surprise you, or is anything? What's your observations after being here, working, your living experience of being in Canada? Is anything different? Oh wow, I didn't expect that. Or Talk about that for a bit.
I love this question. I can reflect on the moment I landed in the country, and I still say it to the day. The very first person I met was a porter in the airport that was helping me get my bags. I traveled heavy that day. I had 8 luggages moving into a new country. But I will tell you, from the first time I stepped foot in this country, the welcome that I got from everyone that I've met. And it's been that way for the last 2 years. And earlier in the summary event that we had here earlier, there was a question that really talked about what does a better everyday life at home mean now that I've been in Canada. And what I could say is, for the last 2 years, I have been in awe of the different cultures, backgrounds, traditions. There's so many things that me and my family now embrace that we're here. We talk about not only being a North American citizen, we have Caribbean roots, we have South American roots, but we're growing our kids up now not to be dictated by the picture of your passport anymore. We want world citizens, and we have been able to embrace new cultures, new traditions in our lifestyle now. And I am so thankful that the communities accepted us. The kids are doing really well.
Fantastic.
They're doing great in school. They're playing sports, you know. And then I see the love of this country, and I love it. I love it when, you know, when we're out and about and everyone's supporting their local teams. So we know everyone was supporting the Jays last week. Yes. But that's the Canadian pride that I love. And I love to see that people will band together around their flag, around community, around people. And me and my family absolutely love it. Fantastic. So for the last 2 years, I have been absorbing it from coast to coast, whether it be the indigenous peoples and the cultures that we've learned so much about with reconciliation, you know, our partnerships with the Rainbow Railroad and understanding what does, you know, persecution for people that just want to have a fair life. What does that mean? I have really been able to absorb all of this and really give my family an opportunity to see life at its best here in Canada.
You know, it's such an interesting time you arrived because it's not like Canada as a culture is static. I mean, we have a lot of new Canadians. We had a huge bolus, so to speak. You know, we went from 37 to 41. So the country is reshaping itself as you experience it. So it's kind of fun, right?
It's a great time to be here. And I will admit, I'm looking forward to traveling with the family across the country. I don't know if they want to be in the car with me going coast to coast. I will try my best, but I cannot wait to take them to see some of the wonderful areas that I've been able to visit the last 2 years and for them to explore Canada and the greatest moments that I've seen.
Well, Selwyn, you've been such a tremendous addition to the Canadian retail industry and the culture. It's been a real pleasure to get to know you over these past couple of years. Congratulations on all the success for you and the team. And I wish you much continued success. And thanks for joining me back on the pod.
Well, I enjoy it. I want to come back again. And you know we're coming up on our 50th anniversary. So we have to find a special way to kick that off next year together.
Fantastic. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of The Voice of Retail. If you haven't already, follow on your favorite podcast platform so new episodes will land automatically each week. And be sure and check out my other retail industry media properties, the Remarkable Retail Podcast with Steve Dennis and the Global E-Commerce Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Michael LeBlanc, Senior Retail Advisor, Keynote Speaker. If you want more content or chat, follow me on LinkedIn. Safe travels, everyone.